Well, pretty soon we'll be back at it. Spring planting, hopefully just around the corner, but it brings with it amplified stress. Are we going to be able to pay the bills? Are we going to be able to work around the weather? Who's going to be helping us? There's a lot of different elements that can bring stress to a person's life. If you're a Wisconsin farmer, now you also have the enhanced elements of tariffs and wondering where your crop is going to go. Remember, the Wisconsin Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection has resources available for you. One of those is our Wisconsin Farmer Wellness Program. And joining us now is the licensed clinical social worker that helps to bring life to that service. And her name is Jessica Beauchamp. Jess, how long have you been with the Farmer Wellness Program? I lose track of how many times we've chatted.
Since its inception, actually, which was during COVID, so 2020.
Yeah, I remember those conversations. Jess has some unusual hours, much like mine. How have call volumes been going these days, kiddo?
Right now, they're actually tapering off, which makes sense. We're coming into nice weather. It's coming into spring. In the fall and winter, they were definitely increased from previous years. And more people are seeking out services, which is great because it's there to use. So it's good to see people reaching out.
What kinds of topics were people sharing with you? And now remember, Jess has got to be careful about these things, but what kinds of trends in conversation were you picking up?
A lot of sleep issues seems to be on the rise lately because, we're good at distracting all day long, Pam. We can work all day. We can keep ourselves busy. And a lot of people think, well, that's just the way to combat the stress is just to keep myself busy. That is one option, but it's not something we want to do consistently because you know what happens when you lay your head down at night, your brain comes alive because you ignored it all day. So people experiencing a lot of sleep issues, again, relationship issues, which is an ongoing thing for farmers, for non-farmers. And then this kind of stuff you mentioned at the beginning, the lack of control over things, whether it's tariffs, the weather, who's going to be working for me, people showing up to work, all these things that are out of someone's control and add to the plate of stress they're already having.
I know that you don't necessarily ask a lot of the people that tap into the Farmer Wellness Program, but I'm curious if you're getting a sense of demographics. Fortunately, like you said, people are more comfortable using the resources. Are you getting a sense on demographics that are tapping in?
Actually, I've noticed a trend that it's been males more so than when we first started. We had a lot more females, I think, that I was working with and that other therapists were working with. There's been more males, which is actually, again, really great to see. That tells me that stigma's been reduced, that the word's getting out there, that people are feeling like they're comfortable to reach out because it is confidential, completely confidential. And so, it's been an increase in seeing the male farmers call.
That is good. That is good to hear. Now, before we get too much farther, Jess, why don't you explain a little bit more about what the Farmer Wellness Program does? I talk like people are completely familiar with it. That may not be the case. Explain what the Farmer Wellness Program offers.
So there's a couple different aspects to it. We have telehealth, and we can get, someone can get in pretty quickly. Part of what I do is I'm available so that if someone were to call maybe like the hotline and they need to see someone within the next few days to talk, even whether it's over the phone or over a computer, secure platform, or even in person, that I'm available quicker. For someone that maybe needs some ongoing services, there's a voucher program which can pay for in person. Sometimes they can actually come to you on the farm. And then again, telehealth if you're comfortable with that or over the phone. We have support groups, which are 8 p.m. and coming after March, it'll be once a month again. Those are all the services are completely free and confidential. The support groups are great because it's actually led by peer leaders. So it's other farmers that are leading the conversations and everybody's offering one another support. And you can come there and tell your happy things. You can come there and say, you know what, I'm struggling with this and that. And chances are you're going to find someone else that has either struggled with it or currently is, and you can get some support in that way. There's quite a few different avenues to get help through the farm center.
Now, those peer-led groups, that's an extra step for somebody that is engaged in the services. How are you doing keeping those peer-led groups going, and are there more people comfortable with playing a role as a leader?
So you don't actually have to be in therapy services to do this support group, which is great because a lot of places you go to for services, you're not allowed to be like in a group unless you're going to individual counseling with them. And we don't do that. We say you just have to be, a farmer to come to be a part of the group. Because they're online, so you can join from anywhere in Wisconsin. You can be on your phone, you can be on the computer. It's 1 hour. You just have to be able to show up for that. And it's, whatever people want to discuss is what they bring there. So it's no pressure. You don't have to feel like you have to join in. You can join the sessions you want to. We try to keep the number around 10 people so that, people have things to share, that they have time, because the hour does go by fast. You'd be surprised they're taken up. Everybody has something to talk about. And it's nice to see farmers supporting one another. And then the peers that lead it are consistent right now, and they have been for a while, which is helpful because then they remember stuff that came up, last month, and they can follow up and say, hey, you were talking about X, Y, and Z. How is that going for you? And then the group can talk about it, and they're helpful in that way that we have now consistent peer leaders.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, this is Jessica Beauchamp. She is a licensed clinical social worker, and she is the power behind the Wisconsin side of the Farmer Wellness Program. Now, Jessica, let's talk a little bit more about the Farmer Wellness Program, what it offers. You've mentioned the voucher system, the telecounseling system, and this is available 24 hours a day, is it not?
So there's a hotline available. You don't have to be in crisis. It could just be, I woke up in the middle of the night, I can't fall back asleep, I need to talk to someone. You can call that hotline. It is completely free and confidential. If they feel like you could use some future services or maybe a referral to therapy would be a good thing, they would let the Wellness Center know with your permission, and you would actually get connected with Karen, and she would help figure out, what kind of therapist do you want, what's, appropriate, and get you connected in that way. But that hotline is available 24/7. And again, you don't have to have a mental illness. You don't have to be in crisis. It could just be, I need someone to talk to right now. And you can pick up that phone and make a phone call.
And that number, in case you're wondering, 888-901-2558. That's the Wisconsin Farmer Wellness Helpline, 888-901-2558. How are we doing as far as recognizing signs of when we should reach out to somebody, Jessica? You alluded to it earlier. We feel like we need to work through it on our own. Sometimes that's not the best way to handle things. Can you give us some signs to be aware of as we go into a busy spring planting with a lot of extra stress this year? What things should we kind of keep an eye out for?
I think a big thing is, are others around you saying anything? Like, do you have your friends and family or farm workers who are like, man, you seem to be a lot more stressed? Other people oftentimes observing us seem to have a better, viewpoint because for us, we can just keep pushing ourselves through it and not realizing, wow, you know what, I am over the edge stressed, or someone else around you might realize it first. So listening to those that you're surrounded by, are they noticing anything? For yourself, too, are you maybe having a shorter fuse than you normally have? That would be a sign that you're taking on too much. Your brain can only handle so much. So is there a shorter fuse? Do you find yourself being more depressed, more sad, more days? We all have days in times where we feel sad or anxious, but it doesn't seem to be lingering on. And the nice thing about, if this is happening and you need some, extra support, it's very flexible. So you don't have to leave your farm half the time if you don't want to. If you want to, you can, because they're in-person services too. But if you're starting to feel this way, call in, get on the schedule, talk to someone, even if it's just a couple of times, to get some pointers. Sometimes it just helps to get these ideas out as opposed to what's called ruminating, which means it's just rolling around in your brain and keeps you up at night and stresses you out during the day. But yeah, if you're having any increase in those symptoms and they seem to be just lagging on, they're not going away like they maybe normally would, that would be a great time to reach out.
Don't ignore it. That is for sure. The resources are there for you. Jessica Beauchamp joining us. She is, again, that licensed clinical social worker you'll be talking to. If you dial up the Farmer Wellness Program, or chances are she will be. And like I said, the number to try to reach that service, 888-901-2558. 888-901-2558. You'll also find the cadre of resources available on the Wisconsin Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection website. I'm Farm Director Pam Yankee.